Hey folks, welcome back. So this week we are getting back to working on the cattle water system again, and namely working on a couple problems that we have with that. So the first thing we're going to be working on is heading all the way up to the back of the farm to the very back cattle water and seeing if we can't figure out why we aren't getting the water pressure that we should be getting there. Now the first thing we're going to try doing is digging up around where the valve box is, and that's where our 1 1/4 line reduces down to 3/4. And we're going to dig up around there, try disconnecting that, and see if there's something plugged at that reducer. And then we'll just kind of go from there and see what happens. Alright, so we've had the pump running for a while now, and of course we had to drain the entire tank up there before we disconnected this, or otherwise we were going to have all 1,500 gallons of water coming down into this area where we're working. My dad went down, turned the pump on, it's been running for a while, and we still are not getting the water down to here, which makes me think that there is something further up this line that's blocking it, because we've been able to get water out the other direction on everything that side of the farm, on the other side of the hill, but we aren't getting anything over here. So it's kind of my guess that when MVP was doing something with replacing the tank after they damaged it, that somehow they got something in the line here, and that's what the problem is. But it's getting late. I'm just about out of light, so I'm gonna head off from the mountain here, and we'll have to come back to this a different day. Alright, so earlier today, my dad was up here and he was messing around with this back water again where we weren't having pressure to it, and he did a bunch of work digging around here, disconnecting stuff, flushing the lines, reconnecting things back up, flushing lines again, and it seems to be working now. He found one little tiny piece of plastic in there that came off from when we were cutting water lines. I don't really think that was what was plugging it, because that just wouldn't be able to hold that much water back, but he did find that in one part, and when it was flushed earlier, it did have a little bit of a kind of muddy color to it, so there may have been a little clod of dirt up in there someplace as well that got washed out. But either way, it seems to be working. Now, originally I was planning on coming up here and totally getting this stuff covered back over, but once I got up here, I realized that the drain valve right here is got a very slow leak on it, and I'm not entirely sure what it is that caused that, but it definitely has a good steady drip there, which means that that's probably going to have to get replaced. The only problem is that the next few nights it's supposed to be getting down into the low 20s, so we really can't leave this pipe exposed. But I think what I can do is just come through, cover this stuff with maybe a foot of dirt, get the valve box around that to help kind of protect that, get a little bit of dirt around that, and I think that should keep it from freezing, and then get back out here and replace that valve whenever I can, and then it'll be minimal digging to get it exposed so I can get to that. Alright, well, we are jumping forward a day here. I got a whole box full of tools over there. I got a brand new 3/4 inch ball valve. I think I've got just about everything I need, except I forgot to bring a shovel up today. So we're just gonna have to kind of dig some of this stuff out by hand and by boot and whatever else we can use, and hopefully get either the one that's on here fixed or get it replaced with a new one. So the first thing we're going to try here is these ball valves can be disassembled, and I'm assuming that you can probably get replacement parts for stuff in here. That way if something wears out, you can just replace the thing that's worn out instead of buying a whole thing. But I'm kind of skeptical that this is going to solve the problem. I think there's probably something wrong inside there. But what we're going to do is we're going to get a wrench on here, a wrench on here, and see if we can tighten it up just a little bit and see if that fixes the issue. Well, it did turn a little bit. It did turn. So now, open that back up. And it still drips. Okay, turn that off. Well, I'm not seeing anything obviously wrong with this. I thought, there might be something split, or, might have gotten frozen at some point or something, but I'm not seeing anything on here that looks like it would be leading to it leaking. I'm not seeing anything leaking out of there. So maybe it just, something wasn't seated right, or maybe there's a little dirt on it or something, because it seems to be okay. Alright, well, we are sort of kind of back to where we started. I don't exactly know where the grade was on this beforehand, because I didn't really do much of the digging on this. So probably my dad's gonna come up here and put it back the way that it was, because I don't really remember how it was. And we also need a certain distance from the pad to where the edge of the grade goes to, and I don't know what that is right offhand, and I don't have a measuring tape, so we're just gonna call this good. There's still some more dirt around here that I think needs to get dumped, maybe over in here and over in here, but we'll save that for a different day. Alright guys, so today we finally got some gravel in here, and you're gonna say here in a second, Josh, you complain if you get it, you complain if you don't get it, you can't be happy, can you? But I'm not real happy with where this got dumped, because over here I got piles of compost and it is right beside it, which means that unless I do a whole bunch of work with a hand rake, which I am going to do, every time that I turn the compost one way or the other and I'm kind of scraping stuff up, I'm going to get a whole bunch of rock into the compost that's left behind after we move all of this over to the water site. So I could have had a little better location there, but it is what it is. Now, we had actually a total of 3 loads, and we thought we were going to get a bit more than that. The second load is up the hill near the pond up there. It's up there. And then when he came with the third load, as he was coming across the creek, he blew a tire on the dump truck. So he was stuck here for several hours before another guy was able to get over here with their repair equipment and get that thing swapped out. So at that point, the ground had thawed out a whole lot, and he was only able to get up to the far end of the spring field here. And so we did need some there at that one, but now all the ones that are left are up the hill, up the mountain. So we're gonna have them come out here when the ground's either frozen or once things dry out a little bit more. And also, in other news, we had a giant FedEx package show up the other day with our 2 replacement lids here, and I checked them both over, and all of our little threaded inserts there are in just perfectly just the way they should be. So hopefully those should go in without a hitch. We just got to drag those up to the 2 waterers that need those replaced. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to head on up the mountain here, up the hill, and we're going to take these replacement lids that we have for the cattle waterers and get those put on the ones that they need to go on. Only thing is, I'm not entirely sure which ones they need to go on. I think I know for sure one of them. I'm not entirely sure on the second one. So we may do a little bit of driving around until we can figure out which one this goes to. Alright, so this one up here near the pond, which is kind of on the other side of these weeds here, this is the one that I knew needed to be replaced, because you can see there's only 3 bolts in here. Now, as I was driving up here, I kind of remembered that I don't have the bolts with me, so I'm not going to be able to get all 4 bolts put in here right this minute, but at least a little bit swapped out so that when I do bring bolts out, I can just pop those in real quick. Alright, that does it for this one, and like I said, I just got to remember to bring up the other bolts for that so I can get that last one in there, and that'll be done. Either I'm lucky or I'm just that good, because I got the other one that we needed to replace on the first try. It's the one that's down here closest to the well on this side of the creek, and it's kind of down in a little bit of a gully here. But anywho, let's get this one swapped out too. That mud, it sticks to everything. Man. And as you can see, this one's still got the water in it too. We need to get that one drained. Alrighty folks, that is gonna do it for this week's video. I do want to add that we've actually gotten in I guess it's a 4th load of gravel now. I was busy that day. I had to go do the final feed run for the year, and so I was preoccupied when that came. Alright, so today was our last feed run for 2021, but whenever we get feed, that also means that I have to get the skid steer loaded up and take it over to where that stuff is, because I get some of it in 1-ton totes, and although I got, you know, some good guns right here, I'm definitely not going to be picking up a 2,000 pound bag of feed. So we need to get the forks on the skid steer. We need to take the little grapple thumb off the forks and then go get that thing loaded on the trailer. We're missing a bolt. Not sure what happened there. I have to get another one. There should be 2 of them holding this plate on. Yep. Oh well. It happens. We've gotten the 4th load and we ended up having to dump it right down here near the mill house because he tried getting across the Springfield there and it was probably I think it was probably up in the 50s or 60s at that point, and he got about halfway across the field and started spinning, so he had to back it back down through here and just dump it. And then how we're gonna get that up to the water sites, I'm not entirely sure, but for the time being, we're gonna hold off getting any more gravel until probably we get a good hard freeze to get that ground a little bit more solid. So it may be a few weeks here before we get back to trying to do more gravel and getting that stuff dumped. But I do have some other projects that I'm wanting to be working on around here down closer to the mill house, so we'll probably do a little bit on those while we can't be doing stuff with the water system. So that's gonna wrap it up for this week. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.